cults, mind control, sexuality in society. These are the topics for the Frankie Files. I also have periodic interviews of experts and survivors. Facing my own story by writing my memoir was the beginning of finding my voice. Well, I found it. I'll explore multiple writers and articles on these topics, new each Tuesday. Listen in. Welcome to Frankie Files Podcast. This is some of the live Reddit talks we held in December of 2022 that we're airing. This one is repeat guest and independent journalist Ciaran Warner. He's an investigative cult journalist. He's bringing to the listeners on this one exclusive information on a cult in Texas, Profundity Yours. It's making people concerned. We also discuss Morningland Community in California. Love has one from Colorado, and a couple of listeners bring Ciaran comments, one on the Finders cult and one on the troubled teen industry. Ciaran gives us more on his forthcoming documentary on the body cult from Alaska, now in Washington State and Australia, and the live element brings in multiple stories. This is a live Reddit talk.
I guess the cult stuff, like really, the only journalism I do anymore is cult focused.
Yeah.
So
plenty there.
I've been doing that now for like a little over 2 years, where it's just been,
And you started with a murder investigation, which was like 6 years ago, right?
Yeah, that started in 2016. So yeah. I worked for a alt weekly and did all manner of articles for a long time, and then this one story kind of took up everything. It took years to produce the article that came out. And then, there was this cult in the background, and I was like always going to pick up that story because it sounded bad, and it sounded like it was still happening. And towards the end of 2020, I sort of did like a checkup to see where they were and what was going on, and it was bad. And I was like, it was the pandemic.
Yeah.
My newspaper I worked for folded, and it was like, let's just do this story. And I didn't expect to be doing it like as like a full-time thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But life happens, man.
Yeah.
Life happens, and you've really been showing all of us who are following you your investigative journalism skills, an art of the past, I think, but needs more. But also people need to check out the chat. You can put questions and comments in our chat today, just below, text them at will. Check out thebodyintl.com as well. Ciaran posts stories there that are investigative in nature and multitudinous. And so a little about you, you're a writer, but also you have a like of art. I noticed on your website. I really like that.
I try my best, I guess.
That's cool.
With this project, it's been learning how to do, I didn't know how to have a website. I didn't know how to put articles together without the editor that I had at the paper.
I know you just handed in before, right?
Yeah. This is doing all this stuff solo.
Welcome to the world we live in.
Working with video. I had no experience with video. Now I use video all the time.
Right.
Working on a video project. It's a lot of new stuff, and some of it's amateurish, but
reporting documentary. So it's almost like we don't care because you're getting the documentary out.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on now is a documentary about the body.
Okay.
That's been putting it together piece by piece. I've been doing that for a couple months, and
there's whispers that you're starting a podcast. I've really been a fan of that idea for a while.
Yeah, it's not my podcast.
Okay.
The podcast is called Lisa Joins a Cult. And it's this woman I met on the internet who literally like goes and visits cults for a day or spends the night with them.
Oh, I love it.
Like, and she's
old.
You know, the Moonies with the assault rifles, and she went and stayed with the Amish for a while. There's all of these like Mormon stories and the 12 tribes. She went and stayed with the 12 tribes.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, her stories are just incredible. So I guess I'm sort of the co-host where, you know, I comment on what's going on and just give my perspective on this crazy adventure she's on. She'll be a guest on the Cult Vault podcast, I think on the 16th.
Oh, great.
So there'll be an opportunity to kind of hear her stories before the podcast comes out. Yeah.
Send her on over to be my guest too, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
On one of these.
She's great. I everything.
Good.
I've published a bunch of articles by her, like on the website. You can see usually her face is in the introduction or whatever. But I really love, like, one of my favorite stories that we've ever done is her. It's a 2-part like essay about going and living with the Amish, and then this Amish guy coming and visiting her in New York City. And it's just like, her writing is incredible. She just has incredible stories. Okay,
well, I can imagine it's like a fish out of water when he goes to New York. Plenty of material there.
Very, very fish out of water. Like, I mean, it's
Amish. I can visualize that. Yeah, known for their seclusion.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she's just really talented. I mean, the Amish. I mean,
and her name again? Her name?
Her name is Lisa Van Arsdale.
Okay, that's awesome. It sounds like a really cool project, Sarah. Different approach. And there's a guy who does this. I've just caught wind of this, so I don't have the name on the tip of my tongue. I saw it somewhere on the internet, probably Reddit. I'm not sure. He goes and infiltrates cults too, and takes a camera on the glasses.
Really?
So he did 12 tribes. And the video's pretty wild. He barely got out. They were like, what's the beeping on your glasses? When the battery's low, it started blinking. And that's how he talked his way out of it. It's an alert that I need to take my medication. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, there's like a famous study, I think from the 70s. I can't remember what group it was. It might have been like a Scientology or something like that. But these like guys from this Chicago, I can't remember if I think they were reporters or they worked for a university, and they were like studying the group by joining it. And at a certain point, like they like gave up the project because they're like, we're literally like, the only thing left to do is like join the cult, and we're not going to do it.
Yeah. How far undercover are you going to go? And please put your comments or questions in chat so I can read them. It's a smoother process we found. So they join the cult, and then they get to that cusp where you have to shave your head and change your name.
Like it's visiting cults and stuff. Like there's danger to it.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like, it's definitely not something I would recommend, but it's just like these stories are so good.
Yeah. So she's doing report for the purpose of investigative reporting. It's like, we want to know. So
it comes from her just like interest in religion, like broadly, that she's always had, like growing up religiously. And then she's just like an optimist too. Like she just sees, I don't know, like
we need more of those.
It's I don't know.
Especially in this
great. I think it'll be a cool experiment coming up.
Okay. And it's called Lisa Joins a Cult?
It's called Lisa Joins a Cult, yeah. We haven't put the first episode out yet, but it should be coming soon.
Okay. I'll be tuned in and sharing that one. Just I like the idea of the approach. Very cool. Okay, put your questions in chat, guys.
Like working with people there's so much of like what I do that involves working with people I met on the internet. I mean, people Me too. There's so many, interesting people I've met along the way. And now people come to me with stories. And that's kind of what I was going to talk to you about today, was this group called Profundity Yours that came to me. Do you want to start there? Or?
Yeah. Let's go. So Profundity Yours.
Profundity Yours.
Check out the link in chat, guys. You can visit their website while he talks.
Yeah.
We have an agenda today, Pumpkin Chunky, but they asked if anyone familiar with the Finders cult. I am not.
I have never heard of the Finders. But
sounds like we need to do one later on it.
Yeah, if they could post a link or something to.
Please.
I mean, that's the thing about Profundity Yours, is that like it's nobody knows about it. Like it's.
Okay. I'm on their website while you're
online.
chatting.
Yeah, I couldn't find much, but. So,
hi, Casey.
Yeah, Casey's here. That's great.
Cult Vault trifecta over here. Future podcast. Current podcasts. Woo-hoo.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just explain how this story came to me. Is I was on another podcast. I was on Indoctrination, talking about sort of, what I do is cult reporting, or everything, the body, and how it's been, and we just talked about cults generally, and she said in the episode, like, if you have a story or something, like, contact Ciaran. He's easy to find.
True.
I got a lot of emails from people. I mean, I try to respond to everything that anybody sends me, but I've been so busy working on this documentary that I really didn't have time for another article. But there was one email that was like, hey, my mom's in this group. We've hired and we've tried to hire exit counselors. We're trying to get her out. It sounded like a serious situation. And then I went to the website and saw, what Profundity Yours was. I started watching their videos, and it just sort of like blew my mind. And I was like, well, I have to like work on this.
And location?
Some way. They're in Texas.
Oh my God, why? So many California and Texas cults. Okay. Marietta, Texas. I see it.
I'm trying to think. It's like, and they used to be and it spawned out of this like trailer park, basically. Like literally they used to live in this trailer park. It's this, I guess I should explain it. It's this sage woman, named Linda McGill, I believe is her name. There's or McGinnis. There's a picture of her on their website on the front page.
Okay. Scrolling.
And she is just really interesting. I mean, when people, she's a sage who sort of got online and got hot during the pandemic, where people were online searching for answers. Like her answers were like, she is an alien walk-in with all this wisdom. She's basically Jesus Christ.
What's a walk-in?
A walk-in means that like an alien from a galactic empire walked into her body, killed her, and now she's called Christo Sophia now. I
got a noise for that. Okay.
I mean, it is just a bonkers story, but there is real suffering going on here. Like this.
I understand.
Okay. I mean, I've been talking to this woman that told me the story and was working on. She was basically interviewing people, doing whatever she could to figure out what was going on and get her mom out. So she had all this information for me. And all these people to contact, and I started hearing these stories about what goes on at Profundity Yours, and it was just kind of like mind blowing. It's a
one-on-one cult that's catching.
Started on, it's a Facebook group originally. Everybody who joins comes from the Facebook group, and you have to pay $50 a month to be part of the group. And that's where some of the money comes from. But it's she also has this ranch where and they name all the people that live there on the website. Like there's I mean, the copy there is amazing too. Like the capitalization of the words. Their store is really interesting. They sell crystals. Like they sell crystal jewelry. Crystals are really important, like spiritually to the group. You always have to have a crystal. And this Linda is just really a fascinating person. Like, she has all these people like in the group send her marijuana. She needs marijuana to do her videos or whatever. Basically, like, I've talked to people who are telling me they've sold or they've sent her, like, money and an ounce of weed, who never met her. She's just kind of a fascinating story. And when you hear that kind of, there is a lot of like trailer park. I don't want to use that pejoratively, but like, I mean, Linda is just, she seems as if like she's lived a hard life. And I'm sure she talks about like abuse that she suffered or whatever, but now it's very clear that she's abusing all the members, and everyone I've talked to has used the C word. It's a cult. Like it's a Facebook cult, but it's also the more serious stuff that goes on. The really dangerous stuff happens at the ranch, where it seems all these people are just like being like emotionally abused in strange ways. There was a time this Linda wanted there to be a breakthrough with one of the people on the ranch, and she decided to give them 10 grams of mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, which is a lot to like break her mind. No. And like, she was successful. Like after that like mushroom trip to one of the women, this wealthy with it, she really goes after like middle-aged women who are like going through divorce or the death of a partner or something like that.
With money
and assets. So she's real bad financial exploitation. Like this 1.3, when they moved from the trailer park to this $1.3 million ranch, it was because this woman who had recently gone through divorce, this Australian woman, had money and just agreed to pay for everything. And, I've talked to people who've given her, $30,000, or there was this woman that originally contacted me, told me that her mom had some sort of like oil dividend, that like a trust fund that paid like 15 grand a month, and that like it was just kind of gone. Like it goes to Linda, it goes to the group.
See,
and all their projects.
There's a hot topic there right now, Siren, with the just a little side note, with the Mooney's incident in Japan. They're now passing laws, and I'm finding this account on Twitter who updates us about that. He's an ex-Mooney, and they're finally passing a law about the coercion of donations from cults.
Yeah, because it's financial exploitation. It's almost the same as like exploiting like an elderly person. Like you could if you're in a cult and you have the assets and you think this is God, it makes sense to give God like your resources. And I guess I should have said this earlier. That it's the end of the world right now in this group. It's today is December 11th. The end of the world started yesterday on December 10th and goes through March. The poles are going to shift. The only safe place in the world is supposedly this ranch, because there's going to be all these floods. I mean, it's bonkers. Like, and the mix of religions and aliens and stuff. It honestly, like, the closest parallel to me is like it's a Heaven's Gate situation. I don't say that like as if like I think they're all going to commit mass suicide. I don't. But it's probably the most similar as far as if you look at the sort of what we would call scripture or the dogma of the group, is very much like a Heaven's Gate that focuses on these women who are into crystals and stuff, and then go down this path of Linda turns out to be Jesus, and she's magical, and
so there's Jesus in play. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's everything in play. Like
that's New Age.
I've never heard of like somebody claiming to be like every single deity or whatever she's claiming. Like, it's really bonkers stuff. I was watching one of her videos. She has so many videos. Some of them are like 4.5 hours long too.
Now are those on YouTube or?
They're on YouTube. Yeah, they're on, I think, on the Profundity Yours website. There's a section that's like, watch our YouTube videos.
Live stream videos?
They're not, I don't know if she maybe live streams like in the Facebook group. You have to pay $50 a month and you have to get screened to get in. And I don't think I would pass the screening test.
Why not? Serious?
I'd have a lot of...
Too critical?
Yeah, I have a lot of like anti-cult stuff on the internet if you look me up.
I see her term walk-in is like a thing she's throwing around. The first video that came up was my experience as a walk-in.
Yeah, that's maybe like the the Rosetta Stone of this group is that seriously my experience as a walk-in. Like if you watch it, it's like it's almost like they're speaking a different language. The words that get thrown around, you really have to like learn how they speak.
She's doing a lot of loaded language.
Oh my god, yeah, loaded language, like unbelievable amounts of loaded language.
Okay.
In her
and she's not exactly charismatic looking. She looks like someone that's been drinking most of her life or something,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't just get bags. I know, because like I've gone through different phases of alcoholism. 53.
Yeah.
No. She's younger than me. And I look 20 years younger than that. I'm just saying I'm amazing. No, I'm just kidding. But wow. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, she is remarkable. Like she is I'm fascinated with her. Well, at the same time, like I got, because I'm sort of have relationships with people in the cult world, I was able to get them in touch with an exit counselor. So this woman, the mom who this was all about in the first place, just got out of the cult and is coming back to Canada, where she lives, where the woman I'm talking to is from.
Okay.
And I got them like hooked up with an exit counselor so that will hopefully mitigate the situation in some way. Because she's out, but she's not out yet, really.
So far I've got it's online recruitment. You're coerced to go to a seminar. At the seminar, it's psychotherapy crap, which is what I experienced in New Age. A lot of browbeating and emotional abuse and verbal abuse. Verbal abuse for sure. Drugging, dosing with permission, I assume, or not?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, people do things when they're in that situation that, normally they would say no to. Like, I don't know why I wouldn't eat 10 grams of mushrooms. Like, especially no. Yeah, on some journey. Like, I mean, that's that you could. I mean, she was, in my opinion, she was trying to like break this woman's mind. Right. Well, that'll do it because she had resources. If you can't gain, here's a spiritual experience for you that proves I am God or whatever. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's many groups who have done that. CIA, cults. Tim Leary. Yeah, it isn't new, but it is definitely the New Age likes to go there. Another video title, how they work and how the I Am Intergalactic Alliance of Masters assist with humanity. Yeah, they are intergalactic masters. I don't think I've mentioned that before. Wait, there's a next video, wave of energy coming in. Yeah, I think that might be about the end of the world. See, the whole apocalypticism is pretty rampant right now with COVID, right? Yeah, I don't know what it is, but the fear of the lockdown and the pandemic, spawned a reaction. It's like really bad right now. Like cult recruitment is on tilt. And I think the success of people like the pandemic got people in cults on Facebook a lot. Like
right.
Agreed. QAnon, it seems to me like the success of this group, how they're living on this ranch and have all this money from these people, comes from it comes from Facebook. Like everybody joins on Facebook or YouTube, they get interested in it, and then like if you really want to go in, you go to the ranch.
Okay, so that's equivalent to when Nexium had their facilities. You stay on premise for like 16 days or whatever for a program. How many days is she asking?
This is like you live your life there. Like this is
it's a one-timer.
It's a one-timer. Yeah, this is the end of the world. Like the end of the world is coming. We're all going to be here. She's going to transcend or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really, I guess,
channeling
stuff, but it's one of the more. I mean, just as a story, there's so much to it. Like one of the things that I thought was really interesting from the last woman I interviewed is that there's this dog that came up in conversations. Linda has a dog called Snoopy, and apparently like it was abused as a puppy. The dog bites people all the time. And she tells them like, oh, it's, this dog is part of like the Intergalactic Federation of something.
What?
And, yeah. The
dog's channeling too?
It's an intergalactic dog, and it bites you like when you have bad energy or something.
This is a new twist.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, you're taking a page from Bradley Long Beach from Sublime, the band. They brought the dog on every.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Wow.
It's the concept of like
psychic
an intergalactic
dog.
Jesus dog, like it's out there.
No way, Sharon. Intergalactic. So the dog's been trained intuitively and will bite you if
you have bad energy or something. I don't understand it completely. Like, but
it's going there.
It's sort of like God is punishing you too.
Okay.
I mean, it is confusing, I guess. Like,
wow. So I see. Okay, next one. I'm just reading video titles because this language, it's like, it's really recreation, re-reality challenging, as they say, right? So this one says upgrades on organs, transmuting toxins from the physical vessel.
Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, if you watch these videos, like you won't understand much because it's the kind of thing that you have to figure out the language that she's using.
So that's kind of the intriguing part. It's like, oh, fear of missing out. What's this?
Yeah, and it's just like, it's sometimes I think it's like intentionally obtuse.
Agreed.
Like she makes it more confusing than it needs to be because maybe it sounds more profound. Like the group is called Profundity Yours, which is like an interesting.
Okay. Wait, exactly. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
It's like conjugation of profound, right?
Yeah, it's like, this is going to be profound. And it's also like, I think yours implies like kind of like a we situation. Like this is for you. This is going to be for you. But I mean, it's not profound. It's innate. And like these people are being like exploited all the time.
Definitely.
For this, like, but you get it. Like it's supposed to be having the word like Profundity Yours, having the title Profundity Yours. It says something about the group.
It's audacious.
Yeah. And she is very audacious. I mean, being like every deity on the planet in that video that you mentioned before of the walk-in experience.
Should we play an excerpt?
Yeah, we should play like an excerpt.
Okay.
You can literally start a video and play anywhere.
Okay, and then you can comment on it. Here it comes. The first one, Profundity Yours. My experience as a walk-in. Oops.
Yeah.
In December 2012.
Uh-oh, that's a deep voice.
Humanity,
yeah,
when the planet
voice.
descended and finished her rotation around the great grand central sun, humanity
Is
was
this
moved into an alternate reality.
a transsexual?
And what occurred was
Just
that
a deep
alternate
voice.
reality was to only be
No, she just has a deep
broadband
voice.
frequency change, a rotational change around the great central sun from a
Oh my
clockwise rotation to a counterclockwise rotation.
No.
Yeah.
Sci-fi.
But what
awesome.
happened was, as that took place, what you guys know as CERN, scientists, not CERN as how you guys perceive it to be evil, but scientists working with Tesla technology, put you into a wormhole, and we went into an alternate reality within a broadband frequency that humans were not ready for. And in that, what you guys, humans, refer to...
Humans.
Not,
She's not human anymore.
What humans have referred to is the battle of rogue aliens overtaking you, this, that, and the other. As with anything, it all comes down to translation.
Out there.
Yeah, and it gets even like the deeper she goes into it.
This isn't it.
Here, I'll fast forward to the middle. It'll probably be
just play like anywhere.
Exactly the same.
Frequency of awareness.
Frequencies of awareness.
You can only be high vibes. That's a box. That's a limitation. That's non-acceptance. That's separation.
How long is this video?
We're here to unify 12 density dimensions.
Like 2 hours long, right?
Yeah, hour 27. Just gibberish.
Looks.
Wow.
All different galaxies.
Okay, that's enough.
So
I think I got a general feel.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like,
well, it rings my. Here's why people don't understand New Age and how dangerous and weird it is. I'm here to be on that stage because I survived a New Age cult, and this is all the earmarks. Crazy lady who sounds like she's been smoking since 2 years old. That was my leader. We smoked every day and drank coffee like fiends. It was like, really bad for the nervous system. And who joins a cult and you start being encouraged to smoke? That happened to me. I'm 14. I'm 14. But they loop in the stars, the galaxy, any science that they want to make something out of. It looks like conspiracy stuff too.
It is very conspiratorial, I would say.
Okay.
And that's why I really feel it's appropriate to sort of lump this in with QAnon and Save the Children and that kind of stuff. It's a different sort of thing. But I talked to a QAnon survivor who went really far down the hole and eventually got out. And she was very interested in groups with like the crystals and healing and yoga, sort of the yoga cults, kind of like there were cults that were like yoga cults pushing Save the Children and stuff during the pandemic. I mean, I'm sure that some of that stuff is still out there. But it's really interesting. I mean, I guess as a journalist, I'm really interested in stories about these cults that will sort of how they use the internet.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're in a new, I don't know if you ever heard, who's the guy who was in Man Who Fell to Earth?
The guy who was
David Bowie. Yeah. David Bowie has a profound video before his death where he talks about how the internet will change the experience of living and as an artist. And he talks about how it's such an interactive experience that it's almost like we've created an alien because it's sentient, like it's so interactive,
Yeah.
And I do believe they're tuning into that. Anyone who's recruiting is definitely tuning in to that. Because you could go hashtag surfing and be recruited,
Yeah.
Nuance.
And it's like people, especially during the pandemic, I think people are out there searching for answers. They want something that like makes sense of the world and, makes sense of everything. Like there's nothing to worry about in Linda's universe because you can just watch these videos or go through. You can pay to have a session with her or whatever where you guys just talk and she does the psychobabble.
How much is the session? I didn't really get to that
I
section.
can't remember if I
gosh.
guess I think I've interviewed 5 people now who are connected to this.
Okay.
But I haven't heard how much the sessions are.
Got it.
I should ask.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's on here. I'm just perusing the website.
Yeah.
But she's got a good racket going on because I gotta say, New Age does seem to be dominated by female leaders, and the crystals, the charging of the crystals, the lunar cycle, all this stuff, looped in Egyptian, what's the word? History and hieroglyphics and timelines. All in.
I was gonna say, I know that there are 2 men in the cult who I've seen. They make videos too. A lot of people make videos or appear in other videos. They're kind of like a content factory.
Here we go, Sharon. So
it's mostly going after middle-aged women, like I said before, people going through divorces, people death in the family, people searching for answers in vulnerable situations, especially when people get divorced. Sometimes, as it has happened in this group, sometimes the people get money.
Yeah, you bet. Windfall.
And then that money goes
and this Facebook group, I did see, it says PY Global Private Group. So this is the one you were talking about that you pay to get in. Profundity. So Profundity, yours is the PY Global Facebook group is what it's called, where the one world soul unites. This group is not strictly about spiritual or simply gaining wisdom. It's a transformational platform for which you have to show willingness to do the inner work required to evolve your own soul and clear the programs and behaviors of the vessel. This is the doctrine of Scientology and every other New Agey type. You have to clear your tapes, your past, your lives, etc., etc.
I want that group so bad, but I need to find an alternate way in.
Yeah. Maybe Lisa.
Yeah, seriously. Have Lisa go to the ranch.
Within the group's activities on this description of the Facebook group here, because you've mentioned this is their main recruitment, it seems like a stage of recruitment. Within the group's activities of heart connection, daily and weekly practices and sharing on many levels, you will also have access to the admin team for assistance as you may need it. Linda Good McGillis, world-renowned spiritual speaker, also shares wisdom merging spirituality with practicality and her straightforward approach. I would say trucker mom approach. Large Marge.
Yeah, she is the opposite of straightforward.
Her passion.
I've heard stories of her blowing up on the ranch and very using filthy language. Okay, so I got to say another thing about this that is just bonkers.
Yeah.
Is that so? This Linda has a boyfriend who is in prison. And
what's his name?
I don't know. I'm not going to say his name.
Okay. Sorry,
but he is in prison because somebody found child pornography on his computer. And so he has this sentence, and Linda makes everybody write letters to him, and she is planning to have a glow in the dark marriage at the prison, with
God
sticks and stuff.
So we've got and he's
part
a pedophile in the wing.
Yeah. The woman who originally contacted me has been really seriously investigating that side of the story because I don't know if he's going to survive until he gets out of prison, but when he gets out of prison, he's going to be a problem, I think, based on the fact that he's like Jesus or whatever to some of these.
Right. So she's kind of conditioning people to accept him.
Yeah. And to write him letters and he's a part of the group.
Wow. Criminals are so comfy in religion, aren't they?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's,
just comfy.
they believe like the reason why they write him letters and is that he did the Christ-like thing. Basically, what the story is that his son had this child porn on his computer.
Oh
he took the fall for it because he didn't want his son to go to jail, and he took the fall like, you know, sort of like Jesus or whatever.
Stop.
But, yeah. I mean that's why he is like sort of like him going to prison for this is supposed to be like a symbol of like his I don't even know, I can't find the word.
Altruism.
Yeah, like he did something.
His humanity.
Yeah.
And it's a lie. I'm thinking, wow, what a nice little spin. I do not have the fact of if it's true or if it's a lie. But if it's a lie, damn creative. Wow.
Yeah.
Bummer, dude.
Yeah,
it's like pedophile covers. If my dream job is pedo hunter, so this riles my whole spine. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's really. I mean, I don't even know. There's so much about. I mean, the galactic dog, the walk-in, the like child porn guy that they're writing. I mean, there's so much to this that is really like. I guess stories like this I'm attracted to as a journalist too, because the actual like people, the people in there's thousands of people I think that are in like the Facebook group, but the situation at the ranch, like those people are being brainwashed on Facebook. It's bad, but the situation at the ranch is like really bad, exploitation and emotional manipulation and just like this far out like dogma and this supposed scripture or whatever. I mean, it's one of these stories that, and nobody has ever written an article about these guys. Like if you look them up, I don't even think they've been in the cult Reddit before.
Is this a year?
What's
or
that?
Two? Their existence is how long?
She's been like, okay, so she claims the walk-in happened in 2012. The old Linda died.
Oh, she's got a date. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then but it really took off like in I would say 2019, like right before the pandemic. They were still in the trailer park, but she was getting people to like come down there and join her in 2019 for sure. I've talked to two people who got to end up living at Linda's in 2019. And then, you know, there's
to interrupt real quick. So that was still in Texas?
Yeah, they've always been sort of by this place called Kempner, Texas.
Okay. A lot of space. Okay, so then people join her little trailer park?
Yeah, they originally they started in a trailer park and it was just everybody.
Classy.
And it was apparently like Linda was a hoarder too. I've heard a woman told me a story of a tornado hit the trailer park and she went down to help Linda. She ended up getting stuck there for years. She went down the rabbit hole.
Oh no!
But she said when she got there, like, you know, she was living like Linda was living like a hoarder. Like there's just like stuff everywhere, and she had to help like clean, and there was like insects everywhere. And I mean, it wasn't the kind of space you'd think like a deity would live in.
So a little bit of mental health showing up there. That's needed as a leader. Leaders are whack.
Yeah, I mean,
now concluded.
Like, I mean, every cult leader is a malignant narcissist.
Something.
But like her being Jesus and Buddha and having the first strand of DNA in her body. Oh. And, you know, alien. Like I don't know why aliens chose to use her vessel as a walk-in. But
could have been an accident.
Yeah,
got the coordinates.
I guess I'd have to watch more of the videos.
So 2012. So is now you say walk-in. So the extraterrestrial walked in, took over her, and is it more than one?
No, I think it's just one. It's just like it's so hard to explain. It's like
I understand
or something.
Okay.
You know, I can't remember. She had the first strand of DNA ever produced in her body. and these aliens chose her, and she is this vessel. She also like predicts her death all the time. Like the end is, I don't know. It's
the fear of death and the death anxiety and the apocalypticism is super effective for mind control. It gets you fear like, oh, I should listen. So that's clearly.
I think the end of the world thing too is like a way to financially abuse people, because this has happened. Like there's a lot of, the Seventh-day Adventists, like, the world ending all the time. And there's a bunch of, the
Latter-day Saints,
the Jehovah's Witnesses are always talking about like the end of the world, the end times, whatever. And I think it's a reason, like with Jehovah's Witnesses, like there are no doctors who are Jehovah's Witnesses because they don't go to college. It's like it's the system.
Yeah.
And there's literally, that's a true story. There's no such thing as a Jehovah's Witness doctor. They don't exist. And it's like, well, the end times are coming. Like, why do you need to go to college when the end of the world is coming? And in this call, like what I'm worried about is she's saying it's the end of the world, and these people have money. She preys on like middle-aged women with money. Right. That it's like a ploy to like, hey, you don't need that money anymore. Like the end of the world is coming.
I saw people who were dying join my cult. And the leader, Sri Donato, explained to them they should stop going to their doctor. And what they should do is give the money to the church. Because you're cured, and then they would die.
Yeah. That's definitely like the medical concern, too, I guess, like in a lot of groups. The
whole healing thing.
Yeah, my girlfriend is a hospice nurse. She deals with death all the time. And it's given me some perspective on how bad it is that like they allow people to like suffer to death. And when that's something that you worry about in this group, where it's like, oh, you just buy a crystal and the crystal will heal you or whatever. I guess this is just like a group that kind of has everything. Like it's just a
they do. Yeah, the whole New Age spectrum, I like to call it. It even I'm still on this Facebook group explanation on their website. Monthly self-investment of $50. We never wish to overstretch anyone financially. However,
you got to commit to it. It's money.
However, we do wish that they invest in themselves as immortal consciousness takes things more logically serious when it pays for something. Oh, that's why. Have to put value. Okay.
Yeah, that's like brainwashing and their copy. That stuff is just ridiculous. You need, like, we don't want to stretch you financially, but like you got to commit somehow. What that paragraph is really saying is give me $50 a month.
And here's why. You're a schmuck if you don't. This self-investment is paid month to month at the beginning of each month. Therefore, the responsibility is that you manually make that payment. We understand life happens and non-participation in the first instance will be challenged.
Yeah.
A repeat pattern of non-participation is a choice and will result in removal from the group, which is the effect of the cause. I'd say the tone is wrong on this. Dang. Yeah. Did you? Whoever, I don't know if Linda writes it, but whoever writes their copy, there's a lot of so many red flags. I've got another one for you, Saren. No idle gossip. This is a bullet point on the Facebook group. Before you join, you have to know all this. No idle gossip or chatter due to the sacredness of the healing taking place. So we consider this base group trustworthy and faithful to the code of ethics, honor, and integrity of the soul. Please put comments in the chat, you guys. That's how we're doing it. If you read this far and you're still with us, then congratulations on your willingness to evolve your soul and your human. Please read on. Sucker.
Can I give you my favorite copy that they have?
Please.
Like, it's super funny. So they sell jewelry, right? They sell these crystals that they make on on the ranch or whatever, and they're not. They look. I mean, I almost used a curse word to describe these crystals or whatever, and these are not experts making these things. So they have this. They have a ton of copy, and then this is in there somewhere, just jumbled in the mix. Did you know that once a crystal necklace, bracelet, or other jewelry pieces break or crack, it means it has completed its purpose in transmuting and or healing as it was intended to. When this happens, we recommend you return the crystal back to Gia by burying it in the ground or returning it to a body of water, such as lakes, streams, beach, etc. So what they're saying is, like, we made this crappy necklace, and it's going to break, but when it breaks, it's a good thing because it's like fulfilled its journey. You're going to give this piece of crap jewelry a funeral, and then you're going to buy a new one.
Stop.
Like, it's ridiculous.
I'm going to quote you. You're going to give this piece of crap jewelry a funeral.
Yeah, you have to give it a funeral. Like,
they got their bases covered here.
Yeah, like I mean, it's funny. Like, it's bad. It's like I don't know what it is. It's like a sales. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is.
Excuse.
Yeah,
they had it off at the pass. By the way, comments. Not on this, but Plumpy Chunk says the Finders Cult is in the FBI vault. The link is in chat. And the Finders Cult is apparently pretty active. So there's two links in chat.
What I was wondering about it is if it was active or if this is a story from the past.
Plumpy Chunk X, I've invited you to speak if you want to let us know what this one is. It's always interesting to hear about other ones. Meanwhile, the Facebook, it's funny because with all the new regulations on Facebook, there ain't nothing about cult recruiting. They're just not monitoring this whole thing. There's been coups in other countries using Facebook groups. It's unmonitored. And I guess there was an attempted one in our country who, with the Oath Keepers and the 3 Percenters and stuff, used a lot of WhatsApp and Facebook. So it's happening.
I'm fascinated with cults using social media the way that they have, because it's a new tool that really exploded during lockdown, when everybody there was just a lot of people searching for answers, and people like Linda that already had like a space on the internet
7 years before,
it just kind of like exploded virtually. And it's interesting. Like the cult that I study the most is this group called The Body. And I got like a bunch of traction reporting on, or I guess I was making TikTok videos, and all of a sudden, a bunch of like TikTok members, or members of the cult joined TikTok who are like not on social media at all to make these videos where they're like, I'm not in a cult, like and it didn't go well. It wasn't
the hostage videos, as you called them.
There is one hostage video where,
it is. I saw it.
Burning.
Yeah, I mean, and just to clarify, it's your moniker on some social medias, Free Melissa Parker.
Yes.
So that's the woman who made the hostage video, because she's been disappeared for years, and her 6 kids with her husband.
Yeah, and she's a felon. She owes like $45,000 in child support that the cult has the money to pay, but they refuse to, and they're like hiding her.
Incredible.
She's the person I'm worried about most. Yeah, I guess I do. Like, and it was just very surreal when she started communicating with me.
Oh yeah. I
guess through these like TikTok videos, but like that was just so unexpected and so modern. Like that never would have happened in the past.
Understood. Like the cult responds, but it's not directly to us. It's like, it's like by a roundabout way. And this was very odd when you expose a woman who's been basically mind controlled hostage for quite some time by a cult, and even trafficked over to Australia, way away from her 6 kids. And then she suddenly begins to post videos saying, "I'm fine."
Yeah.
Wink.
Her name is Melissa Parker is Free. That's the and I'm Free Melissa Parker. So it's obviously like a direct response to me. Man.
Tricky.
But I don't know how she watches the videos I make. Like, I don't know how much she can see, but I don't know. I've been away from TikTok too for a while, but as soon as this video is like the documentary that I'm working on about them is like pretty much complete, I'm gonna go on a little TikTok rampage.
Okay.
Some previews.
Good. Okay. So the update, is this on her sister?
Her sister is like missing.
I'm waiting to hear about that. I know.
I mean, that's really concerning. I mean, I guess we're talking about the body now, but
for a minute.
The like Becky Parker, or I guess her last name is like Stanton now. But I haven't been able to like find out anything about her. I have a mortgage that she signed a lease for, or signed on a property in 2020. That's her signature. So I know she was alive and with it in 2020. I haven't been able to find like a scrap of her anywhere since. And this situation has happened before with women in this group, where I've heard rumors, like she's rumored that she was like kicked out for a while and she had to, I don't know, this woman had to like work 2 jobs and give all her money to the group to get back in. And I mean, the real concern there too is like, man, this is like a missing woman situation again. Like what's going on with this woman? And she's got 6 kids. Like what's going on with those 6 kids?
Another 6 kids. It's like, wait, what? Now we're talking 12 who don't have their mom.
Yeah, or like, I mean, it's just very concerning. Like every situation like this that happens in the body, like turns out where just like women are being abused.
This is reaching back in time, but for my audience and for me, would you tell us the story of how you contacted the FBI?
Yeah,
I'm curious to hear the details now.
There was a missing woman named Carrie, who basically gave up 2 of her kids and went across the country and became impossible to locate. Like, just like nothing happened. And I was trying to call her. I was trying to find her, and it was, I couldn't find anything. Like, I just wanted to get that woman on the phone. I knew, like, what was going on was bad. And I had all these tapes of the cult leader saying bad things. And I had all these tapes of interviewing people who were like, you know, there's a missing baby in this situation. Like, we don't know what happened to her youngest baby. Like, no one knows. No one knows where she is. Like, it's a serious situation. And so I was calling the FBI, like, not constantly, but I called law enforcement in the jurisdictions where these people were. And I was like, hey, just so you know, this is kind of the situation that's going on. Like, nobody knows where this baby is. And I called the FBI, and one day I sat down and I was like, I'm going to keep calling until they give me a way to send them files or to get the stuff off my computer. And my strategy, like, I got hung up on, maybe twice I got hung up on, and I called back and I was like, I just on the spot told them, you know, hey, this is me. I've called a couple times today, but this is something new. Like, I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. and assassinate Mitch McConnell. I'm going to kill Mitch McConnell, and I'm going to tell you I took a folder on my computer that was full of this cult stuff and named it Plot to Kill Mitch McConnell. And I was like, I want you guys to come and take all this stuff off my computer. I bought a plane ticket to Washington, D.C. and told them, you know, the FAA can help you here. Like, I'm going to go murder this man. And that resulted in, I guess, this TikTok thing. But it was a real thing that I did.
I know, you're bold. You're tangling with the FBI, dude. What's up?
But I mean, okay, so that situation, like I was calling about this woman who was missing, right. And like it all turned around this year. Like her husband was arrested. Her kids were taken from her husband. She got the kids back, and there's a 12-year restraining order against this guy. I've read all the affidavits in that case. The situation was bad. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And it was all, the kids were being abused. The whole situation was terrible.
Yeah.
There's a reason there's this 12-year restraining order. But like, this is what I was screaming about over a year before anything happened, before the arrest.
Right.
And that had nothing to do with the FBI. I mean, I guess I should have focused on the local jurisdiction more or something. But it did make an impact. Like, Carrie, the woman who lost her kids and eventually got them back, she knew what I was doing. She watched my videos. She has communicated like through like avatars on the internet with me before. I don't know. It's
so when you did that and they hung up on you and they said, did they say they didn't have a way for you to share the files, or did you send
them? They didn't have any way for me to send the files. So like they weren't interested.
Even with child endangerment or kidnapping?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the money too. Like it's like these guys are criminals. It's organized crime. Like it's a cult story. It's also an organized crime story.
It is,
and that's what they're doing. I mean, like cults, like you can call them, if people don't want to use the C word. Like just about every group is involved in some sort of like activity that bends. Like when you start exploiting people for any sort of gain, something bad is going to happen. You're going to get. I mean, and then people are like deployable agents for the group. It's not much different than like a mafia story.
It isn't. And that's, of course, what's so upsetting for those of us who are survivors. It's like religious criminals is a chapter in my memoir because it needs to be said that, a lot of churches harbor criminals, a lot of religions / New Age meditation groups, whatever you want to call them, there's a grift there. And it's just too easy, like you want to feel better. I've got the remedy. $50 a month on Facebook. We'll do these clearings of your past lives. And, Love Has Won had a lot of the signature of the group you've been talking to us about today. Profundity, yours, is it?
Yep.
The word's hard to remember. Profound is on the tip of your tongue, but it's like, wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Love Has Won leader was quite sick, Amy Carlson. She also continued to say she was being attacked by evil lizards, the lizard cabal from another planet. She would say she would do via YouTube live esoteric surgery on your organs telepathically from a distance.
Yeah, I don't know what the classification is of these, like a Love Has Won or
New Age.
Or I know it's New Age, but it's like there's something about these stories, or Heaven's Gate.
Okay.
I mean, Heaven's Gate is like to me I don't know. I'm fascinated with that story. It's there's really nothing else. Like I don't
39 deadliest cult.
Yes, deadliest.
People think it was cute, and it's the deadliest cult.
Soiled.
And people still think it's cute, Saren.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like it. I mean, it is a fascinating story. Like, I'm not upset with people being fascinated by it.
But it's not cute. It's deadly. It's like yeah.
And I mean, I guess like I'm not particularly worried about this group that I'm studying now that there's going to be a mass suicide. I don't really think that's going to happen, even though it's like there are some red flags, like it being the end of the world and this woman saying she's going to die.
She's going with apocalypticism a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, and that's always concerning to find in a cult. But I mean, suicide cults, I guess you call them death cults, are like very rare. I mean, I guess like, I don't know. There's just, from the outside perspective, like I guess I understand like a Christian cult a little bit more than like the New Age stuff where there's like a cosmic dog and aliens and stuff. Like it's really hard to wrap my mind around. Like, and crystals are going to save you. You got to have the crystals. Mm-hmm. Like it's such a fantastic, and I mean that like to say like it's a fantasy.
Mm-hmm. It is,
and it's something that you really. I guess it happens with every cult, but there's something that is remarkable about this. This whatever the phenomenon of New Age cult, where it's just like there's no, just like
no rules,
or just
no
like
limit,
like a suspension of belief that is almost total.
But you know what? I can say to you, I love talking to you about this because you've put plenty of thought and research into it. So when we have an argument, we're both coming from somewhere. And in my opinion, fantasy of Christianity is just as crazy, and this is a great time to say it because it's Christmas.
Yeah, it's a good.
Let me just blow my agnostic horn. Wait, Siren, I'm going to use this prop.
Let's go. There we go.
Okay, let me blow this agnostic horn real quick. It's like if you think about a guy who no one wrote any of his words down while he was alive, but he did a lot of preaching. He died. Everyone said he was the savior, and now that the world has an end, like we said it was going to, which is in the history because they were threatened by the Romans at that time. So Christianity then said, well, we better write down the life of Jesus. I know it's late, I know it's from memory, but we're doing
100 years later, by the way, literally like 100 years. So that's like 5 generations back then.
And now we're going to worship him in statues where blood is dripping down. Kids looking up to that, worshiping a dead, why not celebrate his life? Why not celebrate a statue of him in a repose of speaking? It is so gruesome. And also, if you don't follow the teachings, God might smite you. You have to do this. You have to cut off your genitalia. You have to, women, you have to breed, and you cannot use birth control. There's so many rules. And it's so fantastical. You're worshiping, the word hasn't changed. It's been thousands of years, but this is still the exact word.
Well, and what's it called? I love this word, transubstantiation, which is like when you drink the blood of Jesus, when the wine is his blood and the cracker is his body. Like,
magical.
If you didn't know anything about Christianity and you heard that, you'd be like, what in the heck? Like,
gruesome.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, right? It's the transubstantiation is ridiculous.
It is.
And people believe it like it's
nothing.
Thing,
I've seen people, there's this in Long Beach on Ocean Avenue. There's a monk monastery that's like a real monastery. And they have a fountain with the Virgin Mary outside. I don't understand the connection, but tourists come and gather out there waiting for a tear to fall down of the Virgin Mary's eyes. And there's groups of 50 just standing there like any time of day, just come in to worship a statue. That too. And I want
to go back though to something like, I feel like you touched on it, but we should, because it's Christmas, we should ponder, like, was Jesus Christ a cult leader? Like, we know, I can tell you that he was not born of a virgin. That's fake. He did not walk on water. He did not turn some fish into something that could feed. These are fantastical stories.
Now you're going to explode from inside for just saying this.
Well, I did. I think I said it last Christmas on Instagram because it's a fascinating story.
I know.
He's got all these people that follow him everywhere. Mm-hmm.
And I talk to Jesus every day. You like that one? Because it's like, wait, if everyone's talking, I love the Sally Fields SNL. when she's in the kitchen and she's crying and she's praying, and Jesus, the actor's now deceased that played him, it was so sarcastic. Jesus arrives and goes, look, I've got stuff I've got to do. You pray all day. Can you tone it down? I can't answer all of this.
Yeah, and Jesus is like magical. Like I read these stories now from my perspective of somebody who looks into cults all the time, and it's like, yeah, like there's all kinds of like cult leaders boast about things that are not real. They can do magical things. Yes.
Okay, I've got a story you reminded me of, because you said transubstantiation of Jesus's body, you know, eating the blood and body of Christ. My cult leader, Sri Donato in Morningland Church, they've rebranded Morningland Community. I noticed churches are starting to do that, including La Luz de Mundo. And so in the Sunday service, she would take donated bread and bless it in front of everyone. And then we would all get in a line and she would give us like a small piece of bread. We were not allowed to eat bread any other time. Bread is off limits. Long story. A lot of gibberish on that. They're trying to poison you in the bread and stuff. So only the blessed bread could be eaten, and that would be the transubstantiation of the body of Christ. So this is a religion that's new age. She looped in Buddhism, Gandhi's teachings, Jesus, every other thing, like Carlos Castaneda as well, mystical stuff. Man, it was like a smorgasbord. And that's when my alarms go off when I see Love Has Won, or the one you're recognizing today for us, Profundity Yours. It's like there's a crazy female leader who looks like an alcoholic, and ours was sucking on codeine syrup. I found out later. I mean, yeah. Where's the Christ-like behavior over here?
Well, the Profundity Yours too. The cult, I guess. Like what happens in there is this blend. Like if you look at the religious side of it, there's nothing original about it. Like as bonkers as the story is with the cosmic dog and everything, or the intergalactic, the Galactic Federation dog that people like. As bonkers as that story is, there's nothing really original that she's doing. Like all this stuff, she's just stealing from other religions. Yeah. Other new age groups, like, and I don't even know, like, if I've seen like a very original cult recently, because they all steal from like old, like previous new age stuff, or they steal from like in the body, they steal from like this old Hebrew version of, I don't know, like it's all like, it's sort of like religious theft.
Siren, real quick asterisk, the body with their secretive meeting places only at people's homes. Let's Talk About Sex podcast recently did an episode on a group that's super similar. They're called the 2x2s. And I guess there's a Christian early, like archaic belief that you would meet in homes and never divulge your location. It's a secret sect of Christianity. I didn't know that was going on. And apparently 2x2s do the same exact thing. What the heck? Why so secretive?
Well, it's a secret. Like, I think the reason this woman got kicked out, like, of the cult recently, like when I first heard about it, when I was told, you know, my mom's in a cult and it's horrible, and we're trying to get an exit counselor, and I started looking into the story. She was doing all this stuff, and like she was commenting on all the videos, like this is a cult, and you know. This woman was doing all this work behind the scenes to expose these people. She got in contact with me, and like the only thing I do was expose groups. Where like this woman was no longer valuable. It's like, hey, you're kicked out. Like you're kicked out because they know like they're on a path to being exposed. Well, I guess they'll know. I hope they know that they're on a path to being exposed when this comes out as a podcast. research it or whatever. But I feel strongly about. I guess it's a situation too where it's sort of like unsteady. Like my favorite stories to work on is an active cult. It's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the stuff that appeals to me most. What can you do to disrupt the cult? Like I want to disrupt them, and this has happened before. Like where you know, I know that abuse is happening, and I want to screw up their process.
So the recruiting on Facebook seems to be the hot spot. No.
Yeah, they recruit on Facebook, but I'm worried most about the people on the barn or
just the straight up the physical location.
Yeah, like
are they locked in type of thing?
That's the really concerning situation. Mm-hmm. People are definitely being brainwashed on this Facebook group, but the people who are just like handing over all their resources and buying her weed and like supporting this woman, you know,
they have to buy her weed.
They're being exploited. Yeah,
that's a setup. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've talked to multiple sources who were in the group. One of them was actually on the ranch. One of them was not. Mm-hmm. Of people who told me straight up that they sent weed in the mail.
It's crazy.
Woman, like an ounce of weed.
That's federal.
Like, yeah, I mean, well, it's just funny too. Like the image in my brain of like this trailer park woman, like just smoking weed all day
and getting everyone to send it to you because you're the alien lock-in. So aliens, I guess we could conclude from her that aliens like them some ganj.
Yeah,
it gets so weird, doesn't it? And for those of you who just joined us in the chat, you'll see a sticky post of one of the comments, and it's the link to the cult Siren's exposing here today, profundityyours.com. And it states right at the top, it collects user data. So just FYI.
Yeah, I mean they're super paranoid. Like they know that like something like Siren Warner is headed their way, I think.
Yeah. Cult hunter.
Yeah, they're aware. Because like all the screening they do, like they want to make sure. I mean, they're not. I don't think they're as afraid of me as they're afraid of this woman in Canada who's like hell bent on. She's a real cult hunter.
Okay.
All the work she's doing, but
it's expensive though. You know, I get it.
I think they're aware that like publicity is about to come, just because of how they've operated in the last like couple of years.
Pretty sluggish.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work out great for them, especially like reporting on it as it's supposed to be the end of the world. I can tell you, like, the world is supposed to end by March. It's not going to. Like,
right. So she's giving herself the timeline.
Yeah, she's going to have to say something like, I mean, I've heard like what her excuses could be.
Yeah.
But like, the world is not going to end by March. She's a liar and a thief and a con artist.
I gotta tell you, I am so like, we don't remember stuff as humans. This apocalypticism, I did an episode, I'm looking for the number now, but I did an episode on this because it was so fascinating. I got my material from this book called All You Want to Know But Didn't Think You Could Ask. It's all about religion around the world through time, right? So apocalypticism runs through multiple religions. It's its own problem. And it's crazy. Like this one that took place was by a farmer. And when it didn't happen, they called it the Great Disappointment. Mm-hmm. To me, that says so much. It's like, guys, you're wishing death upon yourself. What's going on with your head? Why are you disappointed that it didn't happen?
Mm-hmm.
What the heck? So looking apocalypticism, it's early too when I hit it through time. And it goes through so many, like, it's just like, well, he had only like 100. There it is. Episode 19. Religious propaganda, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It's just covering a few. And it's like crazy that we just don't seem to remember, oh yeah, that's a lie. Every time it comes up.
Yeah. Because it's just like, it's fake. It's fake and it's ridiculous, and then the world's not going to end during this time. It's a fantasy.
It's not.
But
I'm sure of it.
This happens like it's not an uncommon idea. Like I mentioned before, Jehovah's Witnesses have predicted the date the world would end. Oh, yeah. So have the Seventh-day Adventists. And then it's like, oh, God, for some reason, God decided to spare us or whatever.
And they spin.
I was going to say that, in Heaven's Gate, there was this Y2K fever too, where it was they were using this Y2K, which is just starting to be talked about, in '97 when this happened, as hey, this is a sign of the end of the world. The door is open on this ship, it's time to go. Yep.
And they were like, if you don't do it now, you'll be trapped or whatever spin. But it is crazy because the go-to just keeps working. God, why are we so stupid is what I feel as humans. Why go for this junk every time? Really? We're just so vulnerable and adaptable. It's great to be adaptable. I'm reading Gabor Mate's book, The New Normal. It's outrageously great. It's Dr. Lawlish level of great. And he's a doctor who started asking his patients, have you experienced any abandonment or trauma? And they had manifestations in their immune system, often through stress reaction. It's inflamed. And he's tied it all together with certain things. So it's really interesting. And I've been listening to it a lot. And this type of fear mongering causes stress reactions in us. Like the apocalypticism, like the pandemic, all the things, the fear. And I'm as a cult survivor, one of my main things is mitigating my fear reaction. One of my main freaking 24/7 things is, telling myself, why are you panicking? Mm-hmm. Calm down. There's nothing to panic about. Because I was so programmed in a cult/church, with the constant meditation, the fear mongering. And if you leave, instant karma is going to strike you down. This fear was so important. So the fear is definitely very important. And I see your leader, not your leader, but Profundity, yours, she's all about the fear mongering. Really laying
it. Yeah. You want people to, it's like terror. From talking to survivors of this group, just the anxiety and the fear, being there, because there's all this verbal abuse, emotional abuse. Yeah. And you can never get to the level that she's at. When you're actually there, there's a lot of emotional abuse. Okay. And, it's the fear. Alexandra Stein has a book about that called Terror, Love, and Brainwashing. About she's a cult expert, where the terror is how you control people. It's under the surface. I guess can you explain that from your perspective as somebody who was in a cult? Yeah. I was just talking to my mom about this, and it's amazing we can even have these conversations. I never thought we'd talk again, but yay! So that's my holiday, surprise. But when I was there, so I was there from 8 to 22, and my mom was kicked out in 18 when I was 18, and this was I left in 87. So while you're there, the fear is so real. You're going to be the next person, the roving hand in the group conversation is coming at you, and you just are praying, please, God, not me. Because they lay in. I saw you today, and the clothes that you were wearing, you look like a slut. I did? I've never even dated a boy. Stuff like that. And then they because everyone's afraid of them being next, they join in and bash the person that's getting it. It's group ritual, And there's there's fear,
adrenaline. So the adrenaline and the fear I lived with, I didn't realize it was fever pitch for years, 6 to 8 straight years. So I realized it one day. I found out that it wasn't normal by, for some reason, I was allowed to get this outside job, and I read this book. It was called Gut Reactors. In this book, it says that if you internalize all your feelings or you're upset and it goes right for your solar plexus, it's not healthy. And you'll have a gut reaction. It'll feel like your stomach flips. You know that feeling when your stomach flips, like, ooh. I was doing that all the time, like for 6, 7 years straight, as, you know, maybe a little earlier. Didn't even know it was unhealthy. And so I was reading this book and I was like, wait a minute, I'm petrified all the time. Hold up. And it kept me from leaving. As they kicked out my mom, they kicked out my family, my sister, and then I was there alone. And so I'm sitting here going, like, I've got to go. These people don't care about me. It's getting worse. Long stories there, but I had to walk out with $1 in my hand for the bus, nothing else. So would you enjoy doing that? Would you want to go? Well, no money, no extra clothes, nowhere to go. I just left. This is what you have to do when you finally are like, I can't do this. And you have nothing, and they don't give you a helping hand out. So that's part of the fear. That's part of the fear. It's like a lot of people commit suicide after that because you're like, I'm literally starting life over as an adult who's been in some like commune, and I'm weird.
Yeah, and if you
nobody knows how to deal with me.
If you leave penniless and without like in this cult mindset, like you're more likely to return. Correct. Or like you're more likely to just like not retaliate. Like there's all kinds of benefits to leaving a person with $1 for the bus.
And you're correct about the not retaliating. Oh my gosh. This is people I've seen destroy people. I would never think of retaliating. I just want it out. It really, literally. So I would have, you know, such profound moments where I'd just be alone in my apartment going, there's no one going to bother me. This is amazing. But then I would still have this awful gut feeling like any door, any day, the door's going to be broken down and I'm going to die. So unrealistic. But the feeling that instant karma is going to get you if you leave, if you turn against the master, you are accepting death, spiritual death, all of that. So if you think that's what's going on this ranch, we got issues. We've got a problem. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Big time. Big time.
But I mean, it's one of the this is the kind of stuff that fascinates me. You know, this is happening right now. Like it's a real story happening in real time. Like people are being abused today.
Yeah. I think there's some of us who are here for the activism. Your journalism is also activism. So, you know,
it is, but I mean, it's also like, I always cede some credit to just like, you know, these are fascinating stories.
Oh, I know. I'm with you. I was a true crime person before I ever realized true crime happened to me.
Uh-huh.
I would just be like Perry Mason, Raymond Chandler, but fiction. And then I switched to true crime, from fiction to true crime. I was like, oh, this is fascinating what we do to each other as humans. And then I realized like I'm a true crime story.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I literally had a conversation with the woman who turned me on to this group, who said, you know, we were talking about Linda, and she said something like, you know, something about like Linda just like smoking weed all the time, and I was like, man, she is so fascinating. And I was corrected, and she said, yeah, she might be interesting, but this is my life. And what I said was like, you know, I'm sorry, but like, you know, the story being fascinating is beneficial to you if you want to expose these creeps. Like it's.
And so this is what you and I have had this conversation multiple times. cult tragedy tourists versus, and I'm not saying you're one, but versus survivor's perspective. Yes, You're right. It does need to be interesting. And it feels awful to us survivors when people are going, oh, let me pick her to talk to because, well, I know what NXIVM is.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't feel good for us to know that the story has to be popular for it to see the light of day. It's rough. But you're realistic. You're realistic.
Like survivors have come to me and been happy with what I've put together. I work with survivors to give them a voice in some of this content where it's written by other people.
You're an investigative journalist.
Yeah, I guess like it's not, to me, it's not exploitation in any way.
Well, no.
But
agreed.
And people like sometimes will come to me with that. Like I really care about these stories, but there's something about like when you find a Profundity yours as a journalist, and it's just full of you hear about the cosmic galactic warrior dog who bites everybody, and you go, damn, that's just like a really interesting story. I've never heard that before. And
you're right, and I'm with you at the same time. I'm both of those. I feel like both. Yeah. Because, first of all, how is she so charismatic? She's not interesting to look at. That's not it. There's some kind of pull, like, ding, her demographic gets her.
She has some charisma. It's just like, it's sort of like this, like, trailer park charisma.
That's my people you're talking about, SWT over here. Don't mess with, I'm from the LBC and I'm some WT, okay? So I can use the word white trash, which used to indicate poor people, and I'm from that demographic. That's my people.
Oh yeah, I'm a poor person, and I accept that for.
But I told my mom years ago I don't want any photos near any trailers. I refuse. I'm not going to be. So this woman starting her cult at a trailer park is like, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just there's something special about these stories and how far they go. I hope that like, my work at some point will, make a difference with these things. It has happened. Like when I put out this little documentary about the cult earlier this year, and like 2 weeks later, like kids were getting rescued and affidavits were written. It all happened like at the same time.
Yes.
And it was like, I named this guy, said he was in the cult, put his picture out there, and said he was doing bad things with his business or whatever. And that was used, like the lawyers took that and were like, hey, somebody who has nothing to do with this is saying this is a destructive cult. And, this is all audio from, I guess, and I'm doing it again too, because I'm working on this documentary now that'll come out soon.
And that's where we go like this. This is the shit. This is what it's all about.
It is. It's important.
It's vital because recruitment is going on in front of everybody's faces, but they don't know for what. They don't get it. It's like the expose is the only way. And, I've talked to so many people about this, but it's like, we're not going to wait for law enforcement to do this. There's just not a budget or serious focus on cults. And this is where we as citizens have to step in.
NXIVM is a great example because some people were like writing about NXIVM and being like, it's a cult. And then this dude, was it the Frank Report?
Correct.
Yeah, that just started like every day, like articles about NXIVM. And then the New York Times like picked that up.
Correct.
And like if it wasn't for the New York Times picking that up, I don't know if they ever would have been investigated by the FBI.
And the same with Larry Ray. Same thing happened. It was like so much, complaints to the college that this guy was recruiting young people. And it was a New York Post, I believe, article that exposed them. And then he went to court and now he's in jail. So yeah, journalists have a place in my heart. And you do as well for this work. And I say, keep it going.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, and that's my world now, I guess.
Yeah. Now I'm jumping on board because I had journalistic skills doing entertainment, and I'm doing not only my story, in correspondences to press, trying to get it picked up by Long Beach Press Telegram, which is right on premise in Long Beach, real close. And yet I can also help others tell their story. And this one is great. What a good find. The person that contacted you, was that the ex-member?
That was the daughter of somebody who was in the cult.
Okay. Oh yeah, always, right?
She was trying to figure out. I mean, they were talking about spending like $100,000 on an exit counselor. It was a pretty serious situation.
Oh my God. How much did the mom give away so far to the church?
Well, we don't know exactly. That's like, there's like one joint bank account with her husband they've been able to follow. So they know, for instance, that she just like gave $6,000 or something to this woman from that account. But it's like, she might be getting, she's definitely like, she's a prime example of financial exploitation. Yeah. Like all her resources are going to this cult, and it's the end of the world. So who cares?
And we just saw this play out with the Moonies. The Abe shooting in Japan was a young man whose mother had given everything, $100,000, I believe. Or might have even been more, like $500,000 or something. But it's like the family inheritance. All the kids were just like, oh, what are you doing? You just ruined our life. They gave the money to the Moonies, and he went and shot a political leader who was starting to introduce the Moonies into politics in Japan and intertwine it. And that was what the Abe shooting was all about. And now, I think I mentioned this, but they're making laws on coercion now. So churches have like 3 years after you give a donation, you can get it back if you feel coerced. Oh my God, that's progress. Mm-hmm. I've never even heard. So this activism, I'm just really curious how Steve has.
Activism makes a difference. The most important people are the survivors who blow the whistle or are willing to talk and tell their story. Like, those people bring down cults.
Absolutely.
Like, that's the reality.
And if you have to do what I've done, which is use a stage name and, protect my own sister, who's my twin, I can't exactly go flashing my face around, because I don't want her to be bothered by these people, and they do bother people. So, like, we have to take mitigating steps, but that's fine. You can still have a voice. You can find a platform. And I, want to encourage everyone to do so. If you need to find a way to do it, contact me. Contact Siren. Siren will listen to your story and get it out.
Yeah, or I can't always not
understood.
An article.
No promise. Yeah.
No, I always give if I respond to everything, and I try to help people in any way I can. And this is what I've done. Like, here's what you can do. Yeah. I'll do a Zoom call with anybody, or and hear their story. But I want to be there for people who want to tell their story, in any way, in any capacity. And the story doesn't have to have a intergalactic cosmic Jesus dog.
That's your favorite.
I just am obsessed with the galactic dog. It's so funny to me.
I just can't believe they're selling it,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I guess this is part of what makes cults so fascinating just on a public level. Is it's like people make up some strange stuff in cults. You're kidding me. It's like this is sci-fi material, and that's what cracks me up about Scientology. It's like people were probably laughing at it until now.
Yeah.
Real estate moguls.
Aliens went into a volcano, and it's science. When you get to the bottom of Scientology, it's just a sci-fi fantasy
by a man who wrote 500 sci-fi books, I believe.
Yeah.
He wrote so many books. In his early career, when I was reading about his early career, it's like there wasn't a large pay for these serial novels. So they had to write prolifically, spewing stories out. And he did. So he probably had a lot of sci-fi plots. This was the winner. The Xenu. Oh, man. Yeah.
I mean, they're all, I mean, everything is ridiculous in its own way. Like we talked about before, like transubstantiation is something that like every Catholic goes along with.
Right. It's like a transformer, you mean?
It's silly. Like it's a silly fantasy. But you know, that belief, then you have these people are getting money. I don't know. I guess like that's just, I may be thinking about religion more in the way that you think about it now.
Religious criminals.
Just because it's all like, it's all ridiculous.
It's such a hack.
Well, and I think like, okay, so before we said something controversial about like Jesus was a cult leader, may have been a cult leader. It's at least worth considering. Mm-hmm. I would also say too, like 9/11, that's a cult story. Like that's the biggest tragedy in the history of America. Yeah, that's a cult story. That's a story about a religious leader who brainwashed people into killing themselves for God. It's a cult story. Osama bin Laden was a cult leader. Right. Like that's the biggest tragedy in American history. The second largest loss of lives in American history is Jonestown. That's the most Americans who died in an event ever, or the 900. Second. And the largest mass suicide ever on American soil is Heaven's Gate. Boom. Like these things, like you never know how these stories are going to end. Mm-hmm.
And what's weird about it, sort of like the school shootings, they have a mind of their own once it gets going. It's like, it's destructive. It's like a tornado and it builds energy and then it's destructive, And where does it start? It starts in the brain. The idea that someone latched onto and created into reality. So like the ideas are so profoundly stupid. That's what I'm bothered by the most. It's like once you start criticizing propaganda and seeing that it doesn't really have to make sense. It just has to be outrageous and go get your attention. What? Like the idea that Trump is a man of God. What?
No.
What? Yeah, the pussy grabber? Okay. Excuse my language. Yeah. Just, you've already shown me you're not. So what are you talking about? But yes, the propaganda doesn't have to have a base in reality. And that's one of my biggest takeaways from studying it this year for the podcast. Like, it can be outrageous. The apocalypticism that is being displayed in the cult you're teaching us about today, same thing. It's not believable. She's predicted her own death. Well, who does that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's silly. Does anybody have any questions or?
It's been a quiet group today. It must be the holidays because we're usually.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I was just wondering if you had any.
And I keep checking the chats to refresh. So far, we've had.
We got one. We got a question.
Okay. What do you got?
Well, you got.
Finally! I tried to invite Plumpy to speak earlier. Come on stage, Plumpy. Just unmute you.
You just have to hit the unmute button.
Well, hello.
Hey, you had the comments earlier about
Finders.
Okay, the Finders cult.
I'm surprised you haven't heard of it. This was back in '87. I'll give a brief synopsis. Okay. This guy, John Brisson, is really an expert on the Finders, and I've talked to him personally. But in a nutshell, let me just read a little piece that he wrote because I was going through an email. So basically, in 1987, two men, someone called the cops in Tallahassee, Florida. They were taking care of 6 children en route to a kids' school for the Brilliant in Mexico. The kids were poorly dressed, bruised, dirty, and behaving like wild animals. So it gets deeper. They were placed on a $100,000 bond. Now, in the matter of weeks, national attention began, and they were believed to be trafficked by the cult as the Finders. So the Finders were alleged human traffickers. They were involved in pedophilia, Satanism, and they have CIA contacts, called mind control. And
where was this location?
Tallahassee, Florida.
Got it.
However, their base was around the outskirts of Washington, D.C. and in Washington, D.C. So it kind of involves Jeffrey Epstein in a bit, because what they would do is all these politicians is they would get them to do heinous acts with kids and then basically blackmail them, which goes on currently. Okay. However, it just keeps going and going and going.
So the name The Finders is like they're finding a victim?
Well, they would take out ads in the newspaper, and it was basically Marion Petty, this intelligence officer from World War II. He drove around officials. So when he got out, in 1971, I believe, started the Finders cult, and they were basically like the Timothy Leary, they would find a lot of lawyers, dropouts, but really educated people, get them involved in their cults. And then they would also have kind of like the hippies coming in. They would live in a commune, they would do certain things, except when these two men in Tallahassee, Florida, were caught, they started investigating it, and all these leads started coming back to the Finders in DC. And these Finders would find things out about people, and you could pay for their services. And then they had just people in politics, people in music, lawyers, doctors, everything under the sun, and they would put them on these little chases of Marion Petty would be like, okay, you have zero money, now go to Tallahassee and report back and find out information about all these people, infiltrate this church, leave havoc, and then come back and report. Well, in this, they were finding sex tapes of, kids, and they had like urine in jars. They had all these, it's like too much to even name.
So the Finders is like a secret society.
Yeah. Basically, Marion Petty started this thing, and he wanted then he got his own wife to join into the CIA. So once the cops started investigating it, then it went to like the Metropolitan Police Department. Tallahassee, Florida was calling back over to like DC, and then all of a sudden it got shut down, and people were just losing their jobs. They were getting threatened, by all these phone calls, and then finally one of them, they were like, "What the hell's going on? All this is getting shut down," and they were like, "Yeah, it got classified top secret or something along that nature." And who knows, it might still be going on today. But basically it was like blackmail and everything under the sun.
And this is an active group?
I don't know if they're active now, but there's remnants of it. I mean, these people, are you familiar with sacrificing your firstborn child to Moloch?
No. I'm familiar with
that. That's from Babylonian times.
I was going to say, there's a Bible. Yeah, it's in the Bible.
Well, okay, I wasn't too thrilled about your take on Jesus Christ. But
sorry. I apologize.
Oh, you're in the wrong group then, because that's most of us. Sorry.
Okay.
But not sorry.
Hey,
I'm not saying Jesus Christ was a cult leader. I'm saying that you have to examine it. Like you have to,
yeah. Okay. Anyway,
but it's not a popular. Hey, Plumpy, it's not a popular view to say anything about Jesus. It's not allowed.
Sure, it is. Well, anyway, the topic of today wasn't Jesus Christ. Well, I'll go on that another time with you.
Yeah.
It's a big topic. It's just that time of year,
Well, anyway, it's good to hear some opposing views, right?
Always.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always.
So anyway, I want you to, and a lot of these, the Finders videos were taken down off YouTube where they actually go interview these people. I mean, there's like 20 different ways you can hate the Finders. They were like everywhere doing everything, and they were just underground.
Okay.
And if you go look at the FBI vaults, you can read all the papers on that, and then someone will be like, "Oh yeah, it was just a thing," but some of them were donating their children to be sacrificed, their firstborn.
Yeah,
they were cutting open goats and having the children cut them open when they're like 5 or 6, tearing out their organs.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, well,
just another day in the woods.
Well, I don't even. It's hard to say where this story goes because it goes everywhere. It goes to Washington D.C. It goes to politicians. Do you remember back in the 80s and with the Satanic Panic?
Yes, I lived through that.
Okay, well, a lot of that was actually real too, and part of that were the remnants of the Finders, and they were just the breeders. Some of these women were just, their whole purpose was to get pregnant, have kids, and have them be sacrificed.
Oh. Can you imagine the women who do that? Like the cold-hearted stats of life you have, like the view of life. Ugh. Now, Poetry, feel free to, I'll invite you because you've been responsive in the text. Feel free to chat. Siren, comment here for you. I've always had a huge interest in cults and conspiracies and just discovered this sub. Oh, good. And the Reddit Talks thing today. Thanks for this. It's fun. You're welcome. Poetry, meet Siren Warner, a journalist. I was just mentioning to Poetry, who I invited on stage, see if they unmute. You have to get to know Siren Warner, who's our special guest today, and he does a lot of occult reporting. You're going to love his website, which is cultstories.com. What do you got, Poetry?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Oh, hi. I was just thinking about, you all were talking about the I forgot the name of it already, where you were talking about these women who allegedly just breed
satanic rituals.
I was like, oh, that sounds like Comet Ping Pong, the Pizzagate.
Pizzagate. Oh my gosh, I know.
And also, I'll just throw this out there. Y'all were talking about the Satanic Panic in the 80s, and I don't know if you're familiar with how that tied into like things like Synanon, but I went to a therapeutic boarding school that in the early 2000s, that those boarding schools really came out of the Satanic Panic and Synanon.
CDU, right.
Oh my God, how did you know that word?
You got to get on my podcast and on Siren's stuff because we're up on this.
No,
I just spent months. I've interviewed the Crawfords, mom and daughter. She was in Synanon. She lived there for 10 years, and she was amazing. She my hair was standing on end talking to her.
Oh my God, my heart's
pounding. All of that, all the attack therapy they probably used on you in that teen industry.
The what?
The attack therapy, like the whole psychology.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I went through the whole program. Oh my God, my heart is pounding. You just mentioned CDU, and I'm like, holy
hugs.
I toured CDU in Southern California because I was actually one of the very few who was not like dragged there kicking and screaming. Like for me, it was like I was going through a ton of mental health stuff, and my parents were really shitty. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll use this opportunity to get away from my parents and get some real therapy. I was like, not like the typical, like I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't like, just having a lot of sex or anything, but everybody else there had been. And so I was like, whoa, sorry, I'm not going to go off at length, but just, I went through all the workshops. I graduated.
I'm going to follow you. You're another survivor. Follow.
There's a subreddit too. I think it's called Troubled Teen Survivors. Anyway.
Yeah. So I just want to say, good job getting out.
Yeah, the whole troubled teen industry is a big topic. Like that's something.
Are you covering this, Siren? Are you covering it?
Yeah, I have like the sort of I'm really interested in like the rehab cults.
Mm-hmm.
The troubled teen industry.
Yep.
Like there's a documentary that's so good about where they don't use the cult word, but it's about this sort of rehab. I can't remember. God, I wish I had it in front of me. I guess I do have the internet in front of me, but I don't want to go all the way to.
Yeah, you can put it in text. This chat remains afterwards, so you can put it in reference later. No worries.
Are you talking about the one that is like a mix of like interviews and some reenactment and some like news clips? Because that one's really good. I can't remember the name of it either.
Where did you see it?
It was online. I heard about it, and then it was like the kind of thing where I didn't find it.
It was like a YouTube or HBO. Like
there's going to be a Synanon documentary on HBO coming soon, I think.
Oh. Wait, you said Synanon?
Yeah, that's about Synanon, the HBO one. But that's
original TTI.
Yeah.
And you guys, and Poetry, you've got to listen to The Sunshine Place.
Sorry, what is that again?
The Sunshine Place.
Mm-hmm.
It's only got 8 episodes, but it's extremely well produced. Siren, you've probably heard it.
What is it?
The Sunshine Place. It's the Robert Downey Jr. Endorsed, supported, produced podcast, and it's got 8 episodes. And I had the honor to interview the host. Her name is Sari Crawford, and her mom. She was affected by Synanon because her parents were like almost founding members. So her dad was in the 12, the original roundtable that ran everything. And then her mom married to him, was in there for 9 years. So, like this spawned the TTI, the troubled teen industry. They locked kids in. They kidnapped them from their parents and detox them on demand. And, it just was like, so aggressive. They called it aggressive attack therapy. They created the thing called the game Poetry in the Synanon podcast, The Sunshine Place. They talk about it and the game, and they even have recordings. That's what I loved about it, is they have interviews and they have recordings from Synanon, which is insane. Did you know that Synanon had a radio 24/7 that was broadcast to all their locations?
What?
So those recordings were obtained, and they have some of them on the podcast. So you're going to want to check.
I want to say I did find the documentary. It's called The Last Stop. It's about Elon School, and that is. It looks like it's available for free on YouTube. Like you can just watch the movie. Okay. The Last Stop. Which
are you going to put the link?
Came out. Well, how do I? Let me see. I can probably put that in the chat.
Yeah. If you copy and paste that link into here and just make a note TTI, because that way, on review, people can see what we're talking about. And yeah, this, I don't think people understand how bad TTI, troubled teen industry, is. And you know what? They also, Poetry, they do not know that they lock you guys in and don't call your parents when you're having a problem. They tell the parents, oh, this is normal. They basically separate and isolate you two from each other and don't tell the truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a tactic. The whole thing is a technique, right? Mm-hmm. You get there and you can't, like, I remember we could only, if we needed, so you got there, all of your clothes were taken from you, and everything that is like, they called it in agreement. I actually was in one of the much nicer ones. I had a friend who was at Casa by the Sea, which is straight up prison and like abuse, and it's been closed down for like crimes against humanity. The one I was at was actually very cushy, but like I remember like you could only order. They had like a binder with like 10 pages from a J.C. Penney catalog, and if you needed clothes, that's where you got your clothes.
Yeah, set the tone of.
You couldn't put any black. There was no black ever allowed.
Got your YouTube link, Siren. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the troubled teen industry, also Poetry, a podcast who is our buddy in this sub, is Cult Vault podcast. Now she's done, I don't even know how many, like 20 different episodes on TTI. You're going to need to talk to her. Perhaps she can interview you too.
Yeah.
Totally sad stories on this front. The abuse. I mean, you got someone like Paris Hilton was locked in a troubled teenage. There's no rules with that money they had with their family.
I actually was at one of the schools that Paris Hilton was at. She got
Which
pulled out
one?
after 2 weeks. Don't tell anybody.
Okay. I wonder if they went to another one with her.
Oh, of course. Yeah, she went somewhere else.
Okay.
I was at the Cascade School in Northern California.
Repeat.
Cascade School. It's not open anymore.
Well,
But
check in the chat because Siren told us about a new cult that none of us knew about. This is what he does. He uncovers contemporary cults. And this one is a new age cult, just to recap. Profundity yours.
Mm-hmm.
oh Lord.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be working on a story about it in some capacity in the future.
Okay.
I want to go to the ranch too. Like, I want to check it out myself if possible.
The ranch in Texas.
Yeah.
Where the indoctrination's happening. And the idea of dosing someone to break their mind, these are dangerous things going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the end of the world. Like, you never know what's going to happen. Like, nobody on the outside in Heaven's Gate knew that people were castrating themselves and were getting castrated and that they were all going to kill themselves. Like, you only knew that if you were, like, inside or watching the website or whatever. So there is fear. Like, nobody took Heaven's Gate seriously, and it ended poorly.
And Sarah, when I talked to Dr. Lalish, one of the things she told me, which was really shocking, was that they had continuously said, we're not going to kill ourselves. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's scary. All right, fabulous.
And everyone, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you look into the finders a little bit more.
Yeah, I will.
Too.
Yeah, thanks. Cool. I didn't expect to find you guys on here today. So.
I have a documentary coming out probably by Christmas or New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
And just look for that. And then this story is going to come out in some other way.
Okay.
Like, I is balancing these projects, and there's this podcast that I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, all my energy is really focused on finishing this doc about the body, because I think that's gonna, that's probably the biggest difference I can make, is to give them some exposure.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been doing so, and it's really coming out.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, we'll wrap it up, and thanks everyone for joining us. Siren, always wonderful to talk to you.
Yeah, wonderful to talk to you. I love being on your show.
Cults, mind control, sexuality in society. These are the topics for the Frankie Files. I also have periodic interviews of experts and survivors. Facing my own story by writing my memoir was the beginning of finding my voice. Well, I found it. I'll explore multiple writers and articles on these topics, new each Tuesday. Listen in. Oh, and I promise not to waste your time.